All right, everybody. Welcome to the Bald Eagle Podcast. I am Shawn Cressman. I am the Bald Eagle. Okay, well, this is my second episode back, 67th overall. I took some time off, and I felt bad about my last episode, so I have I have a recovery to make. So we're going to do that later. So anyway, I am the Bald Eagle Podcast. If you're not aware, is a Philadelphia Eagles podcast, 100% Philadelphia Eagles, and I have a couple rules, 3 rules actually. Number 1, no politics. So no matter what is going on politically, we do not talk about it. One exception was COVID, because I could be considered political, and that's only because it impacted the NFL and the game. So we did talk about it a little bit as it pertained to the game, nothing in excess. Number 2, no personal information. I don't talk about my personal life. I don't think you guys care. And I don't talk about the players' personal lives because I don't care. I always say that the little stories they show on the Fox pregame show could be replaced with more game footage and more, analyzing more analyzing the games that are coming up. I would much rather that than to hear about, people buying, I don't know, Bobcats. Did I go away, Kayla? What? You can see it? Well, okay, so I'm going to keep going. I can't see myself. Something's going on with StreamYard or my laptop, but as long as you can see me, that's all that matters. Okay. So no personal information. And rule number 3, I am not censored. I say whatever the fuck I want. Okay. So hide the kiddies or the people that are real sensitive and can't handle strong language. Now, the Bald Eagle Podcast is part of Philly Sports Alliance. Philly Sports Alliance has a sponsor, La Terrain. Go to La Terrain. They sell watches. I think they might sell more than watches. Enter code PSA and get a discount. Why not? Okay, now, the other thing about the Bald Eagle Podcast, in case you weren't aware, is that we, here at the Bald Eagle Podcast, you will find, during the regular season and postseason, the most in-depth play-by-play analysis. I do a little bit of it during the preseason, but the game footage isn't available for the preseason that it is during the regular and postseason. So most in-depth play-by-play analysis here at the Bald Eagle Podcast. Okay, so let's get to our countdown. We always count down to something. There's always something to look forward to in the NFL. And to this time, we are counting down not too far. We're counting down to tomorrow. Tomorrow is May 12th. At 8 p.m. will be the full NFL schedule release. They've been making it a schedule week by releasing a game here and a game there all week. But the full schedule will be released tomorrow. We know who we're going to play. We just don't know in what order. Of course, we always play Dallas. The Cowgirls, we always play the Commies, Washington Commies, Commanders, and we always play the New York Giants at home and away every year, right? So that's a given. Interesting, a little reminder if you're not aware. Carson Wentz will be returning to the link as the quarterback of the Washington Commanders, assuming that he doesn't get injured. So at home we'll play Green Bay, and we'll play Jacksonville. Doug Peterson's return to the link. We'll play Minnesota, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee, all at the link. Away, we'll play Arizona, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, and Indianapolis. So pretty decent group of games. I don't think anybody in that group is remarkably good that we couldn't beat them. Not a real tough schedule. Speaking of, I saw, even though the full schedule hasn't come out, there were notes of who had the worst, the easiest and hardest schedule. I think the Cowgirls and the Washington Commanders were tied for the easiest strength of schedule. I don't remember who had the worst, but once that all comes out, we'll talk about that on the next episode. Now we do know, I mentioned they were kind of dripping some of the games out this week. We do know our home opener, and in fact, our home opener is against the Minnesota Vikings. It is the second week 2 of the NFL, Monday, September 19th. It is a Monday night game, which is great. It's on 8:30 at ABC. It's actually part of a Monday night doubleheader, and I think that might be an opening Monday night doubleheader. I'm not sure. I think Tennessee and Buffalo plays a little earlier than us, maybe 7:45. So we know about that. We're going to look forward to training camp. Don't have any solid dates for training camp yet. It should be in mid to late July, so in a few months, but I'll keep you guys updated on that. Some things we do know, we are going to be holding joint practices with the Cleveland Browns, and I believe that we requested to play the Cleveland Browns in preseason as well. So we'll practice similar to what we did last year. We'll have live practices or joint practices with the Browns twice during the week, and then we'll play them in a preseason game. Now, we did that last year with the Jets and the Patriots, and if you remember, those practices by the coaching staff anyway were taken more seriously than the actual preseason games. Bummer for the fans because we didn't get to see a lot of the starters in those preseason games because they were resting them because they pushed hard during practice. But it may be a winning idea. It might be smarter for them to do things that aren't on video than to do them on national television. But August 4th through 7th is Hall of Fame weekend. In Canton, Ohio, the Raiders will go against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Jacksonville is the home team. And that's also the beginning of preseason week 1. Now, I'm guessing here because I couldn't find any actual schedules, but I believe that would make NFL preseason week 2 the weekend of August 12th through 14th, and preseason week 3, August 19th through 21st. So that's where I believe they'll be. I might be off by a week. I assume that they're going to have Hall of Fame weekend and preseason week 1. I know that. Then I assume they're going to have the 2 weeks right after it and give a break between the last preseason game and the first regular season game, which is Thursday, September 8th. That is the NFL kickoff of the 2022 season. It might be out there who that game is. I apologize. I didn't see. But we'll have all that with the schedule release. I mentioned our week 2 game, our home opener against Minnesota on Monday night. And then on Sunday, February 12th, 2023, looking to the end of the season, we have Super Bowl 57 at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. All right, that's our countdown. Moving to the NFL draft, right? April 28th through 30th was the NFL draft in Las Vegas, Nevada. We began the draft. Well, back in before the draft started, we have somewhere around 11 picks, but we ended up trading around and trading up and down, and ended up only having 5 total draft picks. I counted AJ Brown as part of our draft class, so I went over him. But he technically, of course, wasn't a draft pick. We just traded one for him. We initially began the draft with a large trade with the Saints, and I'll go over it. And you'll find if you watched my show last year, or if you watched it before, I repeat things on purpose, partially because I have a horrible memory, partially because I want you guys to remember things too. So we had a major trade to begin the draft with the Saints. We gave them the 16th, 19th, 6th round, and the 16th and 19th overall picks, and a 6th round, 194th overall in 2022. I haven't been checking the chat. Nobody's chatting. Or comments. Yeah, okay. We got the 18th, the 3rd round, 101st, a 7th round, 237 in 2022. And we got a 2023 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick. So now we have 2 first round picks, which may be valuable because this is Jalen Hurts, I think, last opportunity to show that he can be our starting quarterback. We then traded picks 15, 124, 162, and 166 to the Texans for the 13th overall pick. We used that first round 13th overall pick to draft defensive tackle Jordan Davis from Georgia. Massive defensive tackle with speed that can he can track down quarterbacks. He is one of the 3 rookies that have signed their contracts. We have 5. 3 of them have signed. We traded the 18th and the 101st overall pick to Tennessee for wide receiver AJ Brown, which I think was an amazing deal. If you watched me last year during free agency and the draft, I wanted a big physical veteran wide receiver. We just didn't get him last year, but we got him this year, so that's great. And frankly, when you think about the health and the status of our offensive line, and you think about our running backs with Miles Sanders, I think one of the top 10, maybe top 5 running backs in the league, and then you have these receivers. We have Devontae Smith, and now AJ Brown. I think that there is no excuse for Jalen Hurts to do very well. So if he can't make it in this, what I feel is a real good offense, I think where could he make it, right? Our second round pick, 51st overall, we drafted center Cam Jurgens from Nebraska. He's going to wear number 151. For now, at least. And now we're going to get to some of the last 3 draft picks that we had that we didn't go over last episode. 3rd round, 83rd overall, we drafted linebacker Nakobe Dean from Georgia. Now, I don't know who started the rumor But there were a lot of people, a lot of draft boards that had Nakobe Dean going much earlier than the third round. First, maybe early second. But he dropped to the third round, 83rd overall. It is believed that that's because there was a rumor going around that he had a pectoral tear and that he was refusing surgery. And that's the key part, refusing surgery. Turns out he did have a pectoral tear. He claims that he went to numerous doctors, got second opinions, and nobody ever told him he had to get surgery. So he didn't get surgery because it wasn't recommended, not because he was told to get surgery and he rejected it. So that's a pretty big deal in the NFL there, rejecting surgery that most people deem necessary. So he dropped, and they're saying he dropped because of that. I don't know who started the rumor. I was joking around with some friends today that it would be wouldn't be hilarious for him, but if Howie Roseman started that rumor, it would have been a good tactic to get what I think is going to turn out to be a valuable linebacker in the league. Now, he's not big, 5'11", 229 pounds. Basically my size, except he's probably got body fat in the area of the single digits where I'm much higher. Let's say that, right? He runs the 40 and 4.4, very fast. The 20-yard shuttle, 4.32. He has a 41-inch vertical. So he is a real fast linebacker. Now, when you think about what we need at linebacker, or what we've been missing at linebacker, it's been a linebacker that can cover. None of our linebackers have done a successful job covering. And looking at his highlights, there was one of his interceptions was a pick six when he was in coverage against a running back. So not that doesn't mean he's going to be an excellent coverage guy, but probably already has a leg up on the other linebackers that we have. He was the co-defensive newcomer of the year award as a freshman. He had 25 tackles, 1.5 for a loss, and 2 pass breakups. He was a team captain as a sophomore, he led the team with 71 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 10 starts. He was a team captain for the best defense in college football in 2021, a first-team AP All-American and All-SEC selection. He had 72 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, and 6 sacks. Also had 2 interceptions, one of which he was in coverage with that running back and took it to the house, a pick 6. He had 6 pass breakups and 2 forced fumbles, and all that in 15 starts. So good production on defense. And again, he may not be the best run stopper, but he will be, in my opinion, one of immediately our best pass coverage linebacker. He was the 3rd player ever to win the Butkus Award, which is given to the best linebacker, and they give the Butkus Award to one player in high school, one player in college, and one player in the professionals. He's the 3rd player ever to win it in both high school and college. So if he can do it in the NFL, he will be. I don't know how many players have won it in all 3. Last year, Micah Parsons won it, which is a bummer because I wanted Micah Parsons, but that's okay. Again, could be a great coverage, and he was everybody's still concerned about that injury. He was a full participant in this past weekend's rookie mini camp. So no concerns about injury on my part. All right, the 6th round, 181st overall pick was linebacker Kyron Johnson from Kansas. He is the second of 5 rookies to have signed his rookie contract. He wasn't invited to the NFL Combine, so all the numbers were from his pro day. He is 6 foot, 231 pounds. He runs a 4.36 40. Now, because he didn't run at the Combine, I don't have his, and I didn't have Nakobe Dean's comparisons to other linebackers in the draft. I don't have that for Kyron Johnson either. But his 4.36 40 would have beat every other linebacker at the Combine. The next closest would have been a 4.42, which was, I think Nakobe's 4.4 was, his was at a pro day as well. That's also another reason why they think the Nakobe Dean dropped, because he didn't do anything at the Combine. He just relied on his pro day. Back to Kyron Johnson. He has a 39.5 foot vertical, a 10-foot broad jump. His 3-cone was 6.98. He was a 4-year starter, and he had 4 different head coaches. He was a 3-time captain. While he was in college, he played safety, nickel, linebacker, and defensive end. I'm sure you're aware that most of the Philadelphia Eagles organization prefer players that can play multiple positions. They're flexible. Now, this one I'm not sure about. I didn't add up. Yeah, it could be. I read that he played 655 snaps without committing a penalty in 2021, which is excellent. Excellent, because everybody hates penalties. In his career for the Jayhawks, he played 57 games, and in those games, he had 193 tackles, 22.5 for a loss, 12.5 sacks, and 8 forced fumbles. Now, 8 of those tackles for a loss and 6.5 of those sacks were all last year in 2021. He was a 2020 All Big 12 honorable mention and a 2021 Pro Football Focus All Big 12 second team player. So, I think a lot of people have been talking about his success in the in special teams, that he may not be a starting linebacker, but you never know. He's fast. He's not real big, slightly bigger than Nakobe Dean. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see how well he does. We have we struggle with linebackers, so any help we can get is very welcome. And then our last draft pick, the fifth one, was a 6th round, 198th overall. We drafted tight end Grant Calcutta from SMU. He is the third of the 5 rookies to have signed his rookie contract. The other 2 are still thinking about it, I guess. I'm not sure what there's to think about, but that's between them. He is 6'3", 241 pounds. He did attend the combine, so I have percentages for him. He ran the 40 and 4.62, which out of all tight ends was 92nd percentile. The 20-yard, he ran in 2.71 seconds. That is 85th percentile. He ran the 10-yard in 1.59 seconds. That is 92nd percentile. So he's fast for a tight end. Vertical was 32.5. That was at his pro day. And his 3-cone drill, again at a pro day, 7.09 seconds. Just to give you some comparison, Kyron Johnson's 3-cone was 6.98. So Kyron Johnson is faster than Grant Calcutta. A little interesting story that goes along with him. He began his career in Oklahoma. He earned all Big 12 honorable mentions his freshman year. His sophomore year, he improved to first team All Big 12, had 36 receptions for 558 yards and 9 touchdowns. His junior year, he actually played with Jalen Hurts, but experienced a couple of concussions and decided to step away the game in November of 2019. So he took a year to, I guess, work on his health, to decide if he wanted to return. In 2021, he returned, stated he was completely healthy, and transferred to SMU. He was a team captain in 2021. You'll notice, again, that is a theme with almost all of our draft picks, just like last year. They like team captains. He had 38 receptions for 465 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he was second team All AAC honors. In 31 games, his total college career, he had 79 receptions, 1,102 yards, which is a 13.9 average, 13 touchdowns. And he will wear number 47, and in parentheses it said, for now. So I guess he's not completely attached to that number. Now, those are all our draft picks. We did sign a handful, 12, I believe, of rookie free agents. I'm gonna go through all of these in future podcasts, but just to list them real quick for you, we signed Josh Blackwell, a corner from Duke, Reed Blankenship, a safety from Middle Tennessee State, Kennedy Brooks, a running back from Oklahoma, Britton Covey, a wide receiver from Utah, William Dunkel, offensive lineman from San Diego State, Noah Ellis, defensive tackle from Idaho, Ali Fayyad, linebacker from Western Michigan, Mario Goodrich, cornerback from Clemson, Josh Jobe, corner from Alabama, Josh Sills, offensive lineman from Oklahoma State, Carson Strong, quarterback from Nevada, and Jared Williams, offensive lineman from Miami. Now, we did just recently have a 2-day, and I'm skipping ahead, a 2-day rookie minicamp. This past Friday and Sunday, about 42 players were there. 19 players were actually trying out. They weren't rookies. And there wasn't a lot of information that came out of the rookie minicamp. I haven't been able to find any real details about any specific players except for one. Nick Sirianni apparently was impressed with Carson Strong, the quarterback from Nevada, the undrafted rookie. He said he has a big arm, he's sharp, and he knows where to go with the ball. So And Carson Strong, who I will go over in more detail in a future episode, is a big guy. I think he's, I don't want to guess, but I think he's, he's tall and big, which is good. That's my style of quarterback. They wore at this 2-day rookie camp. They wore helmets, shells, and shorts. There was no contact. In fact, they didn't even do 11-on-11 drills. They focused more on 7-on-7 and individual drills. There was an interesting story, and I don't know what his status is, but a former Penn State basketball player, and I'm not a college guy or a basketball guy, John Harrar, tried out as a tight end. He played football at Strathaven, which isn't far away from Philly, and he's listed as 6'9", 240. So an interesting attempt at being a tight end, and frankly, at 6'9", 240, he'd be a huge target, a gigantic target. He might actually be the tallest receiver in the NFL. I think historically the tallest receiver was, oh man, he played for us. He actually, I'm recapping in the Ball Eagle fact. I bring him up. Oh man, I'm losing his name here, but it's 6'9", Harold Carmichael. He was 6'6". So Plaxico Burress was 6'5", Calvin Johnson 6'5". So he would be the tallest receiver to ever play. Harold Carmichael was 6'8". So if he made a roster in the NFL, he would be the tallest receiver to have ever played in the NFL. 6'9". That's huge. That's huge. Throw the ball in his area, and he should be able to touch it. Okay, so we had that practice camp. Dick Vermeel, I mentioned that he got elected to the Hall of Fame, and I mentioned that on the last podcast, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm apologizing for. I mentioned it, but we didn't talk any more about it. So I am making Dick Vermeel a Bald Eagle fact this episode. If you're not aware, Bald Eagle facts, every episode I just throw out a new fact, and I focus generally on every season of the Eagles, the Hall of Fame, people that have been inducted to the Hall of Fame, draft classes, and then I'm going to start doing all the head coaches, the current record holders, and things like that. So I'm moving into the coaches / Hall of Fame members, and we're going to talk about Dick Vermeel. But to keep up with this Eagles news, Brandon Graham has seemed to confirm that the Eagles might be running a 3-4 defense next year, which is interesting. And some news that's coming out and frankly, I don't know a lot about this aspect of football. I'm not into the back office stuff, but apparently there's been a pretty big exodus from the Eagles. A lot of turnover in our back office. VP of Football Operations Catherine Raish went to Cleveland. Brandon Brown, Director of Player Personnel, went to the Giants. Ian Cunningham, Director of Player Personnel, went to Chicago. Casey Weidel, Director of Scouting Operations, was fired. Sean Heinlein, a Southwest area scout, he's no longer with the Eagles. Evan Pritt, a scouting assistant, no longer with the Eagles. TJ McWright, player personnel executive and scout, no longer with the Eagles. And Tom Donahoe, senior football advisor, stepped down. Apparently he had intended on renewing his contract, but didn't go through with it. So a lot of back office people have left. I'm not sure how that's going to impact everything, but I guess we'll see. Now, I mentioned this before, and I'm only mentioning it because I'm going to, again, just like those undrafted free agent rookies, I'm going to go over all of our upgrades. So we did have a couple of roster moves over this year, right? We signed defensive back Andre Chikari, linebacker Hassan Reddick, which is exciting. I think that's one of our better free agent moves. Wide receiver Zach Pascal, I think that's a good move. Linebacker Kaiser White, and wide receiver Devin Allen. So we're going to go over all those guys and talk about the impact they can have on the team. Injury update, not much. Good news, Brandon Graham says he is doing everything in workouts. He's 8 months away from an Achilles injury. So hopefully that'll be no problem at all. The NFL came out with, or somebody had compiled. Now we're moving to NFL news for those who are taking notes. The NFL, since the schedule is coming out, somebody compiled the miles that each team will travel and the amount of times they will change time zones for games. And the Eagles aren't that bad. They're ninth. We're ninth. And when I first is where you want to be. You want to be first. That means you travel the least. and change time zones the least. And I'll go over who number 1 is. Big difference between number 1 and number 32. So we're ninth in the league. We have to travel roughly 13,940 miles during the season, and we change time zones 10 times, and that's ninth. Washington, the Commanders, are 8th. They have to travel 13,670 miles and change time zones 12 times. Dallas is 21st, which is nice. The harder that we can make their season, the better. They have to travel 19,566 miles and change time zones 14 times. The Giants are 23rd. They have to travel 20,614 miles and change time zones 22 times. First was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh only has to travel 6,442 miles, and they never have to change time zones. So all their games, if they have any against West Coast teams, must be at home. All their away games must be, on the East Coast, essentially. Last, 32nd, is Seattle. Seattle has to travel 29,446 miles, and they have to change time zones 34 times. So real big difference between first and 32nd. I don't know if anybody's run these numbers in the past and if they've amounted to anything, if they've affected the season, if historically people that travel more miles have worse records. I'm not sure, but interesting information. Okay, let's move to the world famous bald eagle fact. I mentioned, I kind of gave away the surprise, right? It's going to be about Dick Vermeel. He was the Eagles' 14th head coach. He began his coaching career in 1960 at Hillsdale High School. He moved to coaching Napa Junior College in 1964. He coached UCLA for 2 years, from 1974 to 1975, where he led the team to victory in the 1976 Rose Bowl. In the 1976 Rose Bowl, they defeated the previously undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes 23-10. After that season, after that Rose Bowl win, he was named the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, so that's 1976. Prior to him being the coach, the Eagles had not qualified for the postseason. They had not won a playoff game or clinched the division title since 1960, so a 16-year drought of not doing very well. The year before he coached the Eagles, or became the coach of the Eagles, we had a record of 4-10. Due to previous trades by the Eagles, Dick Vermeel did not have a first-round draft pick until 1979. So for the first 3 years, 2.5 years of his tenure, he did not have a first-round draft pick. After suffering his first 2 losing seasons, the Eagles made the playoffs in 1978, which would have been the first time in 18 years. The 1978 season featured breakout years by Ron Jaworski and Wilbert Montgomery, and had one of the most exciting Eagles game in Eagles history. And it's actually number 23 on the NFL's 100 Greatest Plays, which is another thing I do. And it's the Miracle of Meadowlands Part 1. We already went over the Miracle of Meadowlands Part 2, but for those of you that don't remember, the Miracle of Meadowlands, we were playing the Giants in the Meadowlands. They were winning 17-12. There were only a handful of seconds left in the fourth quarter. Giants had the ball. Eagles were out of timeouts. So in current modern day football, the quarterback kneels, end of game. Instead of kneeling and letting the time expire, the Giants quarterback Joe Pisarcik took the snap, attempted to hand off to Larry Zonka. But Pisarcik lost control of the ball, bounced on the ground, bounced up into Herm Edwards' arms. He was a defensive back for the Eagles. He returned the fumble 26 yards for the game-winning touchdowns. The Eagles won 19-17, made the playoffs. The Giants were eliminated from playoff contention with that loss. And this was actually the beginning of becoming more common for quarterbacks or teams to run what's called now the victory formation. Once you're up, if you're up long enough and you can kneel on it, you kneel on it and run timeout. So that does not happen again. But that was the Miracle of Meadowlands Part 1. Now, Bald Eagle Facts, we'll talk about that one again in a little more depth. But one thing that I thought was interesting was I think the defensive coordinator and the head coach were fired immediately after that loss. The Giants were actually 6-6 going into the game and had a chance at making the playoffs, and we knocked them out. In 1979, Dick Vermeel led the Eagles to 11-5 record. We won our first playoff game in 19 years against the Chicago Bears in the wild card round. We beat them 27-17. But then, unfortunately, we lost in the divisional round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-17. In 1980, Vermeel improved on his previous year's record to 12-4. We won the NFC East for the first time since it had been formed, which was 20 years. The NFC East was formed in 1960, and it's the first time we actually won it. We beat Minnesota in the divisional round 31-16. We beat the Cowgirls in the NFC Championship 20-7. One of the best ways to get to the Super Bowl. The best way to get to the Super Bowl. And then we lost Super Bowl 15 to the Oakland Raiders 27-10. It was our first Super Bowl appearance, and it was a frustrating loss. In 1981, Vermeel led the Eagles to a 10-6 record, which was second in the NFC East. Unfortunately, we were eliminated in the wild card round with a loss to the Giants 27-21. In 1982, Dick Vermeel led the Eagles to a 3-6 record. 3-6 because there was a players' strike that limited the season to 9 games. Vermeel then retired for his first time, January 10th, 1983, and he cited occupational burnout for the reason. Was sick of football, which I'm not sure how that happens, but I've never been a head coach either. After 15 years away from the game, he returned to coach the St. Louis Rams. He coached them for 3 years, from 1997 to 1999. Overall record wasn't very impressive. He was 22-26. But his last year there in 1999, they went 13-3. If you remember, they struggled with Trent Green. Trent Green got hurt. A young gentleman by the name of course, I'm forgetting his name now. I apologize. I apologize. He just had a show. Kurt Warner. How could I not remember Kurt Warner's name? So Trent Green got hurt in 1999. Kurt Warner came in and established the greatest show on turf. They had, I think, the highest points in the NFL, and they eventually won Super Bowl 34 against Tennessee. He retired a second time after winning that Super Bowl. Took a few years off and then was hired as the head coach of the Chiefs in 2001. He brought the Chiefs back from a losing record. He did get him to the playoffs, and overall he was 44-36 in 5 years with the Chiefs. He finally did retire for his last time after the 5th year coaching the Chiefs. In his coaching career, he was 120-109. His postseason, he was 6-5. He had 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 win. He was the 1999 AP Associated Press NFL Coach of the Year. A 2-time Pro Football Weekly NFL Coach of the Year in 1979 and 1999. A 2 times Maxwell Club NFL Coach of the Year in 1999 and 2003. A UPI NFC Coach of the Year in 1978. Pacific 8 Coach of the Year when he was coaching college in 1975. He is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Fame. I don't know if it still exists, but he was a member of the St. Louis Football Ring of Honor. I'm assuming they have some sort of, perhaps some sort of museum now that they don't have a football team. And he is a 2022 Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee. So he'll be inducted to the Hall of Fame in a few months when we have that Hall of Fame game. So that is our Bald Eagle fact. That was Dick Vermeel, the 14th coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and the first one to get us to the Super Bowl. Okay, do me a favor. Follow me. Everywhere you can find me, follow me. Go to Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Twitch, but I'm not streaming there right now. YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you can't find, if you're going to go on YouTube or something like that, search the Bald Eagle podcast or at Bald Eagle 4133. Now, in addition to having that sponsor, Philly Sports Alliance partnered with a couple of people. The Painted Lines, we partnered with them and we stream to their YouTube, so perhaps you're watching me on theirs. And we also partnered with Six Pack Coverage. They're a national media company located in Tennessee, and they don't just have podcasts about sports. They have podcasts about fitness and travel, food, even finance. So a wide variety of entertainment on that with Six Pack's Coverage. Now, as part of Philly Sports Alliance, to my left, you'll see a list of our shows. I'm going to go over them with you real quick. And in fact, I'm going to bring up a larger visual because we have a great lineup of shows here at Philly Sports Alliance. It starts off Monday at 6 with the Football Smack Talk show. That features Ryan Reese and Eric Ward. That is an NFL show. Of course, we're all Philly fans, so they focus more on the Eagles, but also talk about every other team. Later that night, Mondays at 7:30, is a Diamond Club podcast. That is an all-Philly show featuring John Hunter, Chris Lahiff, and Danny Hart. Tuesdays at 6:30 is the Philly Broadcast. That's all for Philadelphia sports, featuring Ryan Reese and Ryan Finneran. Of course, Wednesdays at 6, your eyes are glued to the Bald Eagle Podcast, a 100% Philadelphia Eagle podcast, featuring the most in-depth play-by-play analysis. Wednesdays at 8, we have Mixed Sports. Mixed Sports is a football podcast featuring Eric Ward and Jay Landry. Jay Landry's only flaw is that he is a Cowgirls fan. Thursdays at 5:30, we have Tendies on Pattison. It's an all-Flyers podcast featuring Paul Bacho, Jack Griffin, and Chris Lahiff. And last but not least, Thursday at 7, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. That's a wrestling podcast featuring Eric Ward and Joe Barry. All right. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. Next time, if you're on, feel free to comment. I'll show your comment live, and we'll talk about it. But for now, go Birds.